Just wanted to get us started on the right vibration. Let's do that one more time, just to get it all started, feeling good. High vibrations help us see things a little more clearly. So today for the Laurelann's Gaialogues, I want to talk about the work of someone who I never met personally, but I started watching his material last summer, probably somewhere around June. And I think I had seen him on one of the other documentaries on Gaia. Might have been Ancient Civilizations, might have been a different one, I'm not sure. But his whole program is called Sacred Geometry. And of course, I've always been intrigued by sacred geometry. Before I even really knew what sacred geometry was, frankly. And actually, in hindsight, I wonder if it's why in high school I was really good at math and I had a crush on my geometry teacher in high school. I know people today who know me probably are like, what are you even talking about? But I did. And I was good at math for a while. And I think math always just made sense to me, and even in music theory wasn't so hard for me because music theory is like the math of music, right? And so last summer, when I started watching this program called Sacred Geometry, and if you don't already have it, please get on Gaia, click my affiliate link in the link, and start watching Sacred Geometry. Because he has an episode, and then at the end of every episode, he has a guided meditation for you to actually sort of physically experience the work that it is to do the kinds of alignment with our consciousness and vibrations, and through meditative practices get us to the point where we can learn a lot of these things in an experiential way. And so he teaches that at the end of each episode. And last year I was like, oh man. And I knew at the end of every episode, he's like, oh, they would say, here's Dr. Robert J. Gilbert, PhD, and he is the founder of the Vesica Institute, and then I got curious after a few episodes. I was like, what's up with the Vesica Institute? And then I got on their mailing list, and I was like, oh, this all sounds so cool. And I was like, I want to take all these classes. I want to learn how. I don't know if you can hear the crows on this microphone. We have the window open. It's officially spring in Erie, Pennsylvania, but it snowed yesterday, so hopefully the crows are bringing some good transformation. Oh, you silly crows, now you lost my train of thought. So we're talking about this sacred geometry program, right? So last week I get an email from the Vesica Institute because I was on their email list, right? And it was like something to the effect of we're, sharing the news that our founder and friend, Robert Gilbert, has transitioned to another plane of existence. And it just struck me that there are a lot of enlightened elders alive on the planet with us right now. I'm so grateful that I got to study with Alberto Villoldo, and that I've been able to study with Stephen Eisenstadt, and that I've been able to study with Dr. Joseph Dillard, that I've been able to communicate with them one-on-one and feel what it's like to be, even though most of it was virtual, still there is something that we sense energetically when a person is physically present, even if you're viewing remotely, when their physical body and this physical reality is present. There's a weight to that, right? There's a density to that. And he even talks about that in the episode I was watching today, about how the density of life sometimes gets us so bogged down in the things that are of this material reality that are sometimes maddening and heartbreaking and harrowing and awful. And somehow, those are the very lessons that allow us to reach a higher plane of existence. So if you're going through that now, and, I've been through it a couple times or 2 or 3 times, and I know some people going through it right now. So if you're going through that right now, yeah, it feels so awful and shitty right now, but it's strengthening you. I know that you probably do not want to hear that right now, but it's strengthening you, and it's giving you some, you don't want to hear this either, it's giving you some kind of lesson. And honestly, in my experience, the sooner we can get on board with the lesson, the sooner we can get on board to, as he calls it, just operating at a higher vibration and a higher frequency so that the density doesn't bring you down in the first place. That's the thing. And so it's fascinating to me that this guy, I actually wrote down, I went and I looked at the screen. I was like, I got to see this guy's actual title, right? Robert J. Gilbert, PhD, former nuclear, biological, chemical defense Marine Corps instructor, which I just find it fascinating that that's a job that exists. That to me was like, oh, hey, that is a job that exists, and this man had it. And then founder of Vesica Institute for Holistic Studies. And then the two concepts that kept coming up are sacred geometry and biogeometry. And this is where I find it fascinating, because this is where so many disciplines intersect. At the intersection of science and spirituality really is where this intersection is the most fascinating to me. Because it also involves ancient traditions, right? So it's like ancient archaeology and, before anthropologists, well, I was going to say before they got a bad name, but that's a whole other story, which I'm not going to get into right now. But the number of cultures across the planet who have spiritual traditions that have, a number of these sort of, some of them call them mystery teachings or sacred teachings, or everybody has a slightly different phrase to call them. The thing that is just so fascinating to me, and also a tiny bit bemusing, because if we could all figure this out just a little bit sooner, oh my God, things would be just so much more lovely. So I'm just going to go ahead and dig right in. So in this particular episode that I was watching, which I think is like episode 12, which might actually be 6, because each episode comes with a little lesson meditation. So let's say I'm like 6 lessons in. And they're talking about I first heard the word as Merkaba. He was calling it Merkaba or Merkaba. So however you pronounce it, I apologize if I'm butchering it. But I had originally learned that this Merkaba is it's basically like the 3-dimensional version of the Star of David. So it's like 2 intersecting pyramids. Forget what, my son would know what the term is for that, because he's a gamer and every die has a different shape and a different name to the number of sides that it has. It might be a dodecahedron if I'm not mistaken. And so I had always heard of it as this, basically 6-pointed 3-dimensional shape. And yet the way he explained it today in this episode that I was watching was that it's actually the sort of overlay and intersection between the 5-pointed star and the 6-pointed star, where the very, very center, the mirror of everything, is love. And, once you realize that the center of everything is love, and you can start aligning your life force and your mental force in a loving way, it's like mathematical magic ready to happen, mathematically proven. So that's the primary lesson for today, for this week. The primary lesson is, and I have no idea, please, if I am wrong, somebody please correct me and cite your source. That's going to be my new mantra. Please correct me and cite your source. Because if you're going to prove me wrong, then please do. I want to know where you're getting your source from so that we can all be informed in an accountable way, right? So if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Heart math. Is that what heart math is? Is heart math the sacred geometry put into action where we learn how to align our love with our service and actions? And I mean, the was manifestantes, the manifestors in the world, they already know that manifesting power comes from gratitude. And gratitude really is a place of love, right? So the more we can cultivate love and gratitude in our lives, the more we will see mathematically that the sacred geometry will uphold that. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to just go ahead and make this week's episode nice and short. I don't want to bore you guys I don't want to meet the word limit count. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of grading. I don't want to have to force a word limit or a word minimum. I'm going to commit to sharing on probably my Instagram. Sorry guys, I'm not that into Facebook these days, even though I know they're owned by the same company. I get it. It's just easier on Instagram. So I'm going to commit to going on my Instagram starting Monday. I'm not going to start on a weekend. I'm going to start on Monday. And in my morning meditation, I'm actually literally going to do whatever is like the first lesson, because I believe there are 7 lessons so far. So for 7 days on my Instagram, I'm going to just do the meditation and just report back briefly how it was for me. So again, if you would like to receive this knowledge, we never know how long our enlightened masters are going to be with us. He just passed. His knowledge is still here. It's still available for us. We can still access it. So if there's someone you have been wanting to learn from, now's the time, baby. Don't wait any longer. Reach out. Reach out. Because there are many enlightened masters among us, and it is time to share knowledge for us to all collectively raise our consciousness to a higher level so that we can create a better world instead of watching the one in front of us collapse into, burning shambles. So I hope you're on board with that. I'm on board with it. Sign up for Gaia, watch the meditations, feel the way math and love work together on your physical and energetic bodies. That's all for now. See you later.